Very good morning to you. Thank you so very much for staying with us here on Global Television. I'm Uyag Mofwegbe. As always, it's with so much of delight we welcome you to Global Morning today. The week is fast moving already, but again, it's a reminder that we are adding age. I'm just kidding, but of course, time is fast spent. We've been here for a while. And then there's this lady who hasn't been on the show for a couple of days now. Well, first time this week, actually. Can we say she's doing her debut? Well, how many times does she even need to do her debut, by the way? Jumai Manson. I don't know if it's your debut, really, but, you know, because you have not been on the show this whole week until today, looks like it's first time in a long, long while.
Really? I guess it's a debut then.
Right, it is.
I think it is. Well, good morning, Uyagba Mofwegbe. How are you doing
Always
today?
good to see you.
It's always good to see you. It's always a delight to see you.
And I share that delight. It's 50-50.
It's 50-50. And good morning to each and every one of you. It's a beautiful midweek, and of course it's Wednesday, and you know how it is. It's a time to just know that the week is fast coming to an end.
Right.
We're in the middle, but don't worry. All those achievements you didn't get on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's another day. It's bigger and it's better.
Of course, we can't cry over spilled milk,
No,
my
we
mom
cannot.
says. So what do we do with whatever is left in the can?
Yeah.
That's what Wednesday reminds us of,
Yes,
knowing
it
that
does.
whatever you couldn't achieve Monday and Tuesday, you can take a second look at those issues and see what you can do with your Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Of
And
course.
the cycle continues.
Yes, it does. And yes, it does. And at the same time, being hopeful and grateful. You know,
Right.
you've given me a title now.
Yes, the ambassador of gratitude. Yeah.
Every one of my childhood friends, they call me that now, but it's fine. The ambassador of gratitude. Well,
And the beautiful thing is you don't need to do change of name now.
No.
Yeah.
you crack me up every single time.
Well, what can we? Nigeria is evolving big time, especially as it has to do with election. We saw the drama that happened at the
Yes.
National Assembly yesterday,
Yes,
especially at the lower chamber, the House of Representatives, with the deputy speaker and members of the opposition party or parties walking out. I mean, the minority legislators walking out because they were dissatisfied with the proceeding, but we understand that they eventually found common grounds yesterday.
Which is good.
Yeah, right. So beyond just being a journalist, one of the things I took away from that was that I hope these people, these gentlemen and ladies who represent Nigerians across the board, understand that this has got to be about true representation.
Yes.
Not self-aggrandizement, not for ego, but it has to be for the fact that you realize you're coming from somewhere.
Yes.
And as we say, you didn't send yourself there. You were there for your people.
Yes.
So if the people say they want real-time online transmission of election results,
Yes.
the question is this something we can achieve now? If we cannot achieve it now, what are the valid, realistic, operative words, valid, realistic reasons we're advancing for saying we cannot do it now? And like a colleague asked, even if we are not able to do it now, what have we been doing these last few years, and what do we intend to do going forward? Because the excuse has been that the internet is not in some places.
Exactly.
Internet access is not so ubiquitous as they say. So what happens in a case where you go to my village, there's no internet, or the internet service is shaky? Those have been the concern. But at the very bottom of it, Joma, is the fact that Nigerians desperately are craving free, fair, credible elections. That's the long and short of the story.
Yes, that's what.
Yeah, so after all the torrential, as we say, you've spoken of the grammar, the question is, how do we ensure, as a government, as INEC, as critical stakeholders, political parties inclusive, and citizens, that we can trust the process? Because like a guest said yesterday, we are now in an era, so sadly, where it is the court that decides whether it was Uyi that won the election or it was Juma that won.
Very
And
true.
that is quite a pathetic error.
Yes, it is a very pathetic error. And you know, the thing is, we're not asking for too much, I always
As
say.
always, right.
All we need is transparency and accountability for individuals to come out and say, okay, this is the process, this is what we want.
Right.
We want it done electronically. It's very important that we want to see it so we can follow along in the counting procedure. We want to know what is happening, if the individual who I am vouching for is coming. So there won't be any dilly-dally at the end of it all. But I think this is long overdue. We keep complaining that our electoral processes are slow. We are handicapped in this particular area. We're handicapped. Don't you think before we get to this, it's a long time. We can actually plan towards it. Okay, fine. There are no internet services in your village or mine.
Right.
What are we doing in that aspect? If really we really want transparency, accountability, and we want the way forward for Nigerians, we want to carry everyone along. That's the tag we always say. What have we been doing? For goodness sake, when we're talking about data is involving, when it comes to digital network, we're involving. There's so many things you can do. I think we've passed this stage.
Right.
I always tell people, I think we are long overdue when it comes to this same matter over and over again. Anytime it comes to electoral processes, there's always a lacuna there. So it's very important that we try as much as possible. First of all, Nigerians, like I said, Nigerians are now aware. We now know that, okay, there's a medium in which I can actually follow up when it comes to electoral processes.
That's right.
That means this matters to you and I as much as it matters to the electorate. So I can follow along and even add my input when something doesn't seem right. So, but as the electorate as itself, when it comes to INEC, the body, what have you done? Is it the same old, same old? Same old, same old, we're tired. Because like you said, your guest mentioned yesterday, it's left in the hands of the court. And we do not want that. We want to see for ourselves to be sure that there are no dilly-dallies when it comes to bringing out those processes. It's just unfortunate that we've not passed this level in which we're in. Countries have evolved. For goodness sake.
So we can do better.
We can do much more better when it comes to these issues. But it's just unfortunate this is where we are. And I think sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, we need to take some things very seriously. Electoral processes is a very serious issue. It's not something we should play with. We say it's our destiny. We're looking at it. We want to know who is supposed to be ruling us or be in the right position. So it's just unfortunate that this is where we are, but hopeful. Like I said, hopefully the needful will be done.
We've got to be hopeful at all times.
At all times.
Incidentally, in the course of the program today, we'll be joined by the spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Honorable Akin Rotimi Jr., to help us understand what has happened this last couple of weeks, starting from last year before the National Assembly went on recess, and what exactly climaxed yesterday regarding the Electoral Act and all of the debates back and forth, and of course the melodrama that we all witnessed on the floor of the legislature yesterday, especially the House of Representatives. We'll talk about all of those. We'll also look at the blue economy, or what some people now call the marine economy. What exactly does Nigeria have in that regard in terms of potential? How much are we exploring it? Given that we have a ministry dedicated to that, the Marine and Blue Economy Ministry, and then of course, we also need to talk about waterways safety and then global best practices. Then add to that the fact that there will be local government elections, as we say, but in the case of the Federal Capital Territory, it will be the area council elections this Saturday, 21st of February 2026, where, of course, chairmen and councillors will be elected across a wide range of political parties. We'll have that conversation, given that we're give or take just about 72 hours away from that big and pivotal event. In the meantime, we're taking a break. Up next is Ramsey Enoch Agbo with Inspirational.
Well, my name is Ramsey Enoch, and it's good to have you join us today on Heart to Heart Inspirationals. And let's get you inspired, because we value you. You are very important. You mean so much to this generation. Do you know why? Because if anything happens to you on this journey of destiny, it means something has gone wrong with a generation, because you are a potential destiny helper. But then, what step are you taking? All right? Where are you? What are you doing? My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Small steps still move forward. We love big breakthrough. A lot of people want to be big men overnight. They just wake up overnight and they want to be big men, not knowing what it takes to be a big man, to be a big woman. Breakthroughs are things that we are supposed to enjoy, but then, does it just fall from heaven? No. One thing we need to understand is that there are things we need to do to really be successful in life. How much work are you putting into yourself? We need to know that life has so much for us. The truth is this: we love big breakthrough, yeah, that's true, but we underestimate small obedience. Small obedience. And that's the reason you see a lot of people make resolutions and they don't keep to it. You see a lot of people do their to-do list for the day and they are not keeping it. Discipline and obedience to small things. You know, little foxes that destroy the vine. You may think those things are small, they don't matter. But then it makes you accelerate. It makes you move forward in life. We celebrate overnight success but ignore daily discipline. How many people are disciplined today? Even CEOs, they are not disciplined today. A lot of people are not disciplined today. Business owners are not disciplined today. A lot of people have eaten their capitals. Yes, a lot of people. I know of people who ate their capitals. Some even went into debt. These are people that were making millions. I know. I'm not talking abstract. These are people that I know. Where are they today? What happened? Discipline. I've even walked to someone before to say, hey, come on. Do you know what? I know it's your business. I know it's your company. I know you are in charge. But then, instead of just putting your hand into the business money and taking out of it every day, place yourself on salary. Be a salary earner. Let the business pay you. Oversee it. Let it pay you. You don't just wake up without discipline. Oh, you have a need. Bam. Accountant. Yes, sign this check. No. It's not done. Discipline is very important. If you want to be successful in life, if you want to make progress in life, discipline is very important. Not just discipline alone. Obedience and discipline go hand in hand. All right. You need to be obedient. All right. And you need to be disciplined. Yet, I want to let you know that nothing great happens suddenly. It happens consistently. Consistency is key. Whatever you're doing. Okay, let me give you an instance. Why do you think anywhere you go to look for a job, whatever you want to do, people look for someone who have experience? Because the more consistent you are on a particular thing, the more professional you become. But a lot of people, because of the issue of diversification, multiple sources of income and all of that, these theories have made a lot of people not to concentrate on a particular thing, not to be consistent in doing one thing and become a professional in it. A lot of people are slaving today because they were not consistent in what they were doing. A lot of people are not employable today because of inconsistency, disobedience and indiscipline. Three major issues: indiscipline, disobedience, and inconsistency. These are thieves of time. Progress, like they said, is not always loud. It's not loud. Sometimes it looks like getting up again. Sometimes it looks like staying committed, all right, when nobody is clapping. A lot of people. That's why, you know, initially I talked about on Heart to Heart, before I've talked about social media. Everybody want to be clapped for these days. Everybody is going on social media to live a fake life because they want to be clapped for. Of what profit is it? It's deception. You're deceiving yourself. I only pity people who copy this online so-called designed people who design themselves to be what they are not. People must not clap for you all the time. Don't wait for the clapping. Don't wait for people to clap for you. Sometimes when walking towards your successful days may not require people clapping for you, or sometimes Sometimes growth feels boring because when it gets, people don't like work. That's the truth. A lot of people don't like work. So sometimes when you're walking, it looks boring. You know, when you are striving to be successful in life, sometimes it looks boring because it's just like you're driving on the road and it's only you on that road. You're going, no car is coming from behind, no one is overtaking you. You're just going, only you, only you, only. Sometimes it looks boring, but boring is where mastery is built. Do not despise small beginnings. Small steps compounds. Small habits accumulate, and of course, small disciplines create massive outcome. Just be consistent in it. Every expert you see today was once a beginner who refused to stop because so many things happen to stop them. You know, when you're starting a business from the scratch, it is very difficult. If you are not consistent, disciplined, and obedient, you run away. Yes, of course. That period, that growing, that incubation period, if you're not careful, you run away. A lot of people have run away from businesses like that. Then when other people start doing it, and during that boring moment, that lonely moment, then when they come out successful, they say, well, why did I even leave that business? Because you were not consistent, disciplined, and of course obedient to the rules of the game. Success have a rule. It has a rule. Yes, you need to abide by the rules of the game before you become successful. Breakthrough don't just happen overnight. That kind of breakthrough that you're looking for doesn't last. Yes, a dribbling tap can fill a bucket over time. Don't you know? Provided there is consistency, it's dripping. Pim, pim. All right, let me give an instance. For instance, you get to the hospital and they give someone drip, all right? There is drip on a patient in the hospital. You see the way it drops, pim, pim, pim. It will appear as if it's never going to get finished. But just give it a time. That drip will finish. Everything will finish into the patient's body. But it's dripping. It takes patience, all right? Not because the drops are big, but because they are consistent. It's dropping. Because of the consistency, whatever you're doing, please ensure to be consistent. If you really want to make it, if you really want to succeed, focus on the progress, not the perfection. Celebrate effort, not just outcomes. Show up when motivation is low. You might not see. Let me tell you something. A lot of people don't celebrate upcomings. That period where you are struggling to be successful, when you're struggling to grow, a lot of people just look at the ignore. Some will not even take you serious. And that's why you need to be careful the kind of relationship you keep. I pity for people who push aside people that were with them when they were in their incubation period, when they were trying to become successful in life, the people that encourage them. Somebody may not even give you all the money, but the encouragement coming is enough. Consistency turns into ordinary actions into extraordinary results. Yes, by the time you're consistent, it turns ordinary action into extraordinary results. All right, keep going. Small steps taken daily will carry you further than big intentions that was never acted upon. A lot of people have big dreams, but they never acted on it. Where are they today? They are nowhere to be found. Well, you need to dream big and you need to act on the big dream, no matter how small, on a daily basis. Be consistent, be obedient, and of course, what else? Be faithful to whatever it is you're doing. Many thanks. I'll come on your way again. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Bye-bye for now.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, now time to turn to the papers for you. So incidentally, we're beginning with the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Quite a number of headlines, as you can imagine. Yesterday was quite dramatic, or well, maybe we start with saying it was melodramatic on the floor of the House of Representatives, and all of that you would, as expected, find across national dailies today. So top left corner of the Nigerian Tribune here, it reads how Owo Catholic Church terrorist attack was planned, executed, DSS witness tells courts. On page 16, again, till appear we are reliving that very gruesome experience in the church in Owo, Ondo State. Nigeria loses 8 trillion naira yearly to concession waivers. That is attributed to the House of Representatives. All right. What's more, prioritize investment in human capital to drive $1 trillion ambition, World Bank tells Nigeria. Okay, of course, the President Tinubu administration says that the ultimate goal is to make Nigeria a $1 trillion economy by 2030. We're just barely 4 years away, so quite an ambitious target already set. But the big one with Akike says electoral amendment bill, Senate in division, reps in rowdy session. Those details are on page 4, but then you have quite some 3 riders basically, accompany that headline. First one says, as lawmakers pass e-transmission with manual backup. Minority reps walk out on session as Green Chamber reduces timeline on notice of election to 300 days. INEC to review election timeline to exclude Ramadan period. Yes, that was also a concern raised previously, but it will appear that issue has been put to bed now. El Rufai spends second day in EFCC custody. Those details are on page 4. NADDC commissions Automotive Training Center in Port Harcourt, concludes mechatronics training on PMS CNG vehicles. That's quite some progress in terms of economic transformation. Sultan confirms moon sighting, declares today first day of Ramadan. Ramadan Karim to all our Muslim brothers and sisters in Nigeria and across the world. First day. We wish you strength for this spiritual journey and the refreshing that comes with it finally. All right. Chaos as Ondo APC meeting turns bloody. You find the pictures there. They don't tell a good story, apparently. The writers say hoodlums disrupt meeting, beat party chairman, injure other leaders. Government denies thuggery allegations, reaffirms commitment to peaceful politics. Well, those are your headlines from the Nigerian Tribune. Next will be the Nation newspaper, and Juma has the headlines.
All right, now the Nation newspaper, and above the nameplate of the Nation newspaper, we have here Fubara ready with 20 nominees as commissioners. And that's on page 3. And on page 2 of the Nation newspaper, it says, MSMEs created 250,000 jobs last year. And the writer reached Shatima seeks support. And like I said, it's on page 2 of the Nation. Now on page 27, it says, world leaders mourn influential African-American Jesse Jackson. Oh, and that's on page 27. Very sad there, and very influential. I must
very
say.
Influential. One of the foremost civil rights leaders in the U.S. Behind guys like Martin Luther King Jr.
Fantastic.
We see how tributes have been pouring in since yesterday when the news of his passing came through. I think about him for a second. I can't forget in 2008, November, just after Obama had been declared the winner of that election, right there in Chicago, as Obama was giving his acceptance speech and thanking Americans for the support and the votes and what have you, he was behind in the crowd, arms folded, he was crying.
Yes, I saw that.
Right, I think a day or two down the line, he was interviewed, and one of the questions was, why were you crying while Obama, president-elect, was talking? He said, because every time he looked at Obama on that podium, he saw himself many years ago, that he had also tried to become president. As a black man, it never worked. But so when he looked at Obama that night, he saw himself being the president because that was a black man who was able to achieve what he had not been able to accomplish. It was quite an emotional.
Very emotional.
Right. He had his own fair share of controversies, no doubt about that. But like you mentioned, we can't take away the influence he had on shaping what today we know as, contemporary America.
Yes, and of course, freedom in that aspect.
Right.
Oh, fantastic. Very influential, I would say. And then on page 5 on the Nation newspaper, it says, suspected thugs assault Ondo APC chair at meeting. Unfortunate there. You know, when it comes to issues like this, we always hear of thugs and all of that. When will we hear the end of it? Well, if you ask me.
Who I will ask.
Exactly. Now, below the nameplate of the Nation newspaper, the star story there. But before we get there, it says, First Lady begins campaign against child malnutrition in April. And that's on page 2. And the star story reads, lawmakers okay in transmission, 300-day election notification. And the writer says, real-time provision rejected, walkout in-house. INEC gets leeway to adjust timetable. And still on the Nation, it says EFCC holds on to El Rufai, and the writer says agency must get court order. And below all of that, we have Dangote's 900 billion naira 2025 tax excites federal government. And below that, it says 21 die in Abia, Ogun road accidents. Unfortunate incident there. Now, page 7 says Ramadan Lenten season begins, and that's on page 28. Go out and get yourself a copy of the Nation newspaper and be well abreast with issues making rounds. And next, we have the Daily Sun. Over to you now, Uyi.
All right, just a couple of headlines we have here. The first being the one I just sent, the nameplate says, Obi condemns tear gassing of protesters, insists on electronic transmission of election result. Well, we understand that has been resolved now with some manual arrangements.
As backup.
Yes, some sort of contingency plan. Well, they say that's the reality we have to deal with at this point in time as a country until things begin to improve significantly in terms of technology and the expertise to drive that platform. All right. But the big one says elections may hold in December 2026, January. Well, of course, that will be 2027. You know, we've been dilly-dallying with these election dates.
Yes, we have.
Yes, at a point we had even been told there were speculations all the elections for 2027 could hold before the end of 2026. But I think we are not home yet, in the manner of speaking, because the dynamics are still unfolding, events are still playing out. So until we get to a point where we are now, if you will, rest assured, we are not going to be concrete on what dates will be suitable. But the important thing is everybody must take responsibility for their actions, and we must do the right thing by the Nigerian people.
Very importantly.
But there's a rider with it. It says, as Senate moves to amend Electoral Act bill in response to polls clash with Ramadan Lenten season. All right, so Ramadan and Easter are quite two big concerns regarding the polls, all right? Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, that is FAN, bans cash transactions in airports. Are we still having that conversation in 2026?
Funny enough, we are. I think we've not involved when it comes to that area.
Right. You see, I was wondering, I think it was in 2019, at the twilight of that year. So I had cost to pay for service at a teaching hospital. I was surprised everybody was bringing cash, and they were making, of course, including yours sincerely, because there was no other means of payment. It was either you paid in cash or you didn't pay at all. I stood there scratching my head and I'm asking myself, what's going on here? I mean, on what basis was it decided by management or the authority that people pay in cash?
Like really?
Somewhere virtually 3 years down the line, that same teaching hospital that had cost to pay for service, it was still in cash. And the way they say it has to be cash, it looks like it's cast in concrete. If you can't pay in cash, you have no business. So what's happening? Can we not have a streamlined process that is electronically driven, that is automated and things like that? Whereas somewhere, a general hospital owned by a state, run by a state, managed by a state, was collecting payments electronically, all the payments synchronized in such a way that they will end up in the same repository. We know what we're doing.
And then the thing is, when it comes to that, there is a process. You have to go pay in here,
and bring the paperwork or
the computer to indicate that you just paid. You know, it's a process of involvement. But it's just unfortunate that this is where we are. Like you said, we know what we're doing. Some people are, you know, it's not, well, let me just leave it out there. Let's move on.
Let's leave it all wrapped up, all right?
Exactly.
Then we have 3 more headlines from the Daily Sun for you this morning. It says, free Nnamdi Kanu or return him to Kenya, Southeast monarch tells Tinubu. I thought this return him to Kenya conversation ended in court already.
Yes.
Well, those details are on page 26 for you. NUPRC unveils a gravimetric flow metering calibration facility. One rider with it to curb crude oil losses, bolster revenue transparency. Those details, again, you can find on page 25. EFCC to secure remand order to detain El-Rufai till end of investigation. And then you're wondering, at what point will the investigation, and you know, he was, well, he honors the invitation of the EFCC.
Yes, he did.
On the 16th of this month, which was on Monday. So one would have thought, as we have seen in many cases, being a former governor, I mean, they would just, interrogate him or engage with him and then grant him what they call, I think, administrative bail, and then maybe later they can talk about other things, whether to go to court or not to go to court and things like that. But he wasn't let out that Monday, had to do a night with them. Tuesday, he has done the second night, and now news is saying that there's a chance EFCC will have to secure a remand order so they can hold him long enough all through the investigation process. And the thing with investigation, with the little that I know as a layperson, is that you can't be so sure how long it will take.
No.
Because the FCC, being an anti-graft agency, I mean, the one that is on the forefront of that matter, wants to do due diligence, wants to be sure that it gets all the details and all of that.
Yes, investigation process.
Right. So I think those are where the issues are. But the good thing is, I'm sure Malam Nasir El-Rufai, I mean, at this level, can afford some of the best lawyers in this country. So it's a case of what facts you have to prosecute him with, and what, of course, how much he is also armed to counter whatever allegations you're leveling against him. The man has said time and again, since all of these issues came up, that he has nothing to hide, that he has no skeletons in his cupboard. But we do hope that this turns out I mean, in such a way that it's fair to all the parties involved.
Yeah, very important.
Well, read up those details on page 4 and do the same for all the other headlines that we have shared with you so far from the Daily Sun newspaper. Let's flip things over now to the Daily Trust.
And of course, on the Daily Trust, we just have one big story there, and it says APC gets its way, and that's basically it's on the Daily Trust. And go out and get yourself a copy of the Daily Trust and be well abreast with APC gets its way. What's that all about? But like I will say, it's on page 4, 5, and 6 on the Daily Trust. So go and get yourself a copy and be well abreast. Next paper, we have The Punch.
All right, so here on The Punch, what does it say? Top right corner with a picture of Abubakar Bagudu, the Minister of National Planning. What does it say here? Cash crunch, Minister laments as 10 trillion naira capital funding stores. MDAs, that's ministries, departments, and agencies, gets below 1 trillion naira for 2025 capital projects. Federal government relies on loans. Nigeria loses 1.76 trillion naira after missing OPEC quota. That story has a picture of Senator Heineken Okpobiri, Minister of State for Petroleum Oil. I just sent the nameplates. One of the big stories in the country today. It says 432 billion naira probe. That's your kicker. EFCC extends El-Rufai detention as lawyer pushes for bail. Then the Star headline: 2026 elections, lawmakers protest as National Assembly okays e-transmission manual backup. So you can also read up those details this morning when you take a look at page 2. And then he has the rider: outrage as Abaribe leads 14 senators in protest, minority reps walk out. France faces new flood nightmare as waters surge. They say water must find its level. Flooding is dealing with people across the world, no thanks to climate change. Ramadan Lent begins today across the globe. On page 7, Ondo APC chair beaten as party meeting erupts in chaos. NUPRC moves to end crude theft with first metering facility. Your headlines, all of them so far from the Punch newspaper. Please do well to read up details as Jumai walks us through the Vanguard newspaper.
All right, now the Vanguard newspaper, above the nameplate, it says manufacturers, agri sector face up to 60% interest rates. And if you're wondering what that is all about, it's on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Below that it says, release Kanu or return him to Kenya, Southeast monarch tells Tinubu. And the writer says, no equivalence between Kanu, Igboho, and, Igbaho, and that's on page 13. And next it says, Lent Ramadan begin today, and that's on page 6. And on page 7 it says, Tinubu, Trump, Harris, others mourn as U.S. civil rights leader Jesse Jackson dies at 84. I will say a life well spent.
Right, sure.
And below that, on the Vanguard newspaper, the Star story reads 2027 reps cave in back Senate on Electoral Act amendment. And that read you will find on page 5. And we have about 4 riders there. It says minority caucus stage walkout over adoption of manual electronic transmission. of results. And the next says police tear gas protesters at NAS, Labour Civil Society demand mandatory e-transmission. And the next rider says Senate reduces election notice to 300 days to enable INEC adjust timetable. And the last rider says Amechi opposition leaders merely grandstanding, and that's from Wike, the FCT minister. And still on the Vanguard, it says Tinubu unveils Nigerian industrial policy, demands speedy implementation. And that read you will find on page 9. Now below all of that, it says Dangote signs for $400 million equipment deal to fast-track refinery expansion. Now that's a step in the right direction, and that's on page 19. On page 6, it says armed men abduct 6 travelers on Makodi Naka Road, demand 100 million naira ransom. And on page 9, it says Nigeria others ignore our judgment, ECOWAS court laments. And of course, one of my best segments on the Vanguard is the Mr. and Mrs. column. So go out and get yourself a copy of it, well abreast with issues making rounds. Next, we have The Guardian. Over to you now.
All right, thank you, Jumai. Well, the top right headline says Zamfara governor alleges exclusion from federal government support over party affiliation. Rami Tinubu seeks prayers for Nigeria as Lent Ramadan begin. Niger residents flee to Benin Republic as terrorists invade Bergu again. Quite a shame. All right, news page 3 is where you read up those details. Electoral reform crisis. 2027 elections take shape as APC majority prevails. Legal tussle looms. All right, Electoral Bill 2026, what has changed? Incidentally, as always, The Guardian has a breakdown for you right on the front page of it. Terrorists kill 4 in Kogi Plateau attacks. Experts raise alarm over drug use surge in Nigeria. Others. Jim, I don't know if you have thought about this for a second. How that it appears we are on the loose, so to say, when it comes to access to drugs, all kinds of drugs. People are taking almost anything for whatever reason. And you see the NDLEA doing an amazing work on that front, but it appears we have barely even started scratching the surface. People are abusing drug left, right, and center. People are losing their minds real time. And society is, seems to be going haywire over all of these issues.
Very true, and it's a cause for concern.
Right.
For as much as people self-medicate, that's even a problem, a whole new problem on its own. And then for the
prescription.
No prescription. They actually go to the pharmacy and they say, okay, they have headache, pain, and they know that they've not tested, they're not sure, but they just feel the symptoms are the same. And of course, because they have been prescribed this particular meds before from the doctor or the pharmacist, that is what it is. And they self-medicate even to their children.
Well,
it's as bad as that. And then for drugs and substance abuse, individuals blame it on the fact that there's unemployment, people are going through a lot. So the only way to douse the situation is to go into drugs, abuse drugs, or just go into drugs and substance abuse. If you're not injecting, you're inhaling. If you're not inhaling, you're putting it in and all of that. It's just unfortunate. And like you said, the NDLEA, they're doing an amazing job. But will I say they have gotten to that part where you can actually create that balance? No, because we have kingpins who, even if you want to stop or you want to bring someone down, these individuals make their daily monies from this. This is how they feed their families, and this is what they do. So there's a lot of work when it comes to intel. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. For as much as, like we said, the NDLEA, fantastic job. Of course, to Brigadier General Bubamara retired, doing a fantastic job. Fantastic, I would say. But as much as all of these is done, there's a lot that needs to be done in the bud. And we have to start with engaging the youths. I think when we start doing that, and we shouldn't leave everything for the government. I always say, you and I, we can all make an impact. But if we do not, this will continue to be a menace in our society. And moving forward from this will take a longer period of time. For as much as a lot of job has been done positively, it will just be at the surface. We will not really scratch that surface, which is unfortunate. Well, This
It's
is what it
unfortunate.
is.
Well, read up all of these details beyond the headlines from the Guardian newspaper this morning. The last paper, and by all means not the least, is the Daily Independent, and Juma will do us the honors.
All right, now the Daily Independent, and above the nameplate it says Electoral Act Amendment. And it says police disperse protesters at NAS, that's the National Assembly. And next to it, we have FCT pose, INEC assures of real-time e-transmission of result. And below all of that, it says, that's the star story, it says, judge me by factories, jobs, not policy count. And that's from our dear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we have 3 riders there. It says, unveil Nigeria Industrial Policy 2025, charges stakeholders on speedy implementation, says admin recognizes, believes in youth potential. And yeah, I do believe in youth potential also. There's a lot the youth can do. They carry the weight.
About 60% of them.
Exactly. And on page 7 on the Daily Independent, it says, no capital allocation released to Interior Minister in 2 years. And that's from Tunji Ojo. And moving on now, it says on page 7 still, it says, bandits kidnap 6 in Benue, demand 100 million naira ransom. That's a cause for concern.
The economics of insecurity, right?
The economics of insecurity. It's just unfortunate that these kidnappers, they keep evolving, I would say.
Right.
When you try to clip their wings, they come out more and they do something else in another state, or where it has to do with travelers, it has to do with, it's just unfortunate that is this where we really are? We're not, when we try to take bolder steps forward, they seem to want to pull us back. I don't get it, Uye.
You know, it's interesting how that, at this point, Juma, I mean, we can't continue to lie to ourselves. The insider factor in all of this is huge, almost palpable, because I mean, it's been a while we've been here talking about kidnapping for ransom and all of that. I remember clearly, as of 2009, people had already been kidnapped for ransom, especially in the South.
Yes.
I mean, the numbers are there. These are empirical issues that we can't pretend about, right? So the question is, how is it that for over 15 years, we are still dealing with the same issue, and now not just the same issue, it has even burgeoned into a bigger monster.
Yes, it has.
All right, so who is collecting the money? By what means? Into whose account? Even if it's by cash, how is the money cycled back into circulation? Don't tell us we are not intelligent enough to figure out these things. We have the DSS, we have the police, we have all it takes to get ahead of these people. So how is it that it's taking this long to even figure out what's going on in front of us?
It's just unfortunate, really. And we know that these individuals, they're not living in cities. They're not in big houses.
And they're not working in isolation
they're
either.
Not working in isolation either. And you know, they have devices. You can track these individuals. I do not understand why it's stalling or staggering for so long. And we know where they are. They are in the forest. They are there. So I just don't know. It's getting worse by the day, I would say. But hopefully, like I said, the needful is done. Let's be hopeful, and let's thank God that it's not for as much as kidnapping is kidnapping, it's very disastrous when it comes to families, individuals who have lost their loved ones and friends in the hands of these individuals. It's just unfortunate. This is what it is, but I think more can be done. We need to find a way to evolve when it comes to kidnapping, banditry, and all of that encompass. It has really turned into a bigger monster now.
It has.
Still on the paper and still on the Daily Independent, we have here, NRS announces phase rollout timeline for e-invoicing EPS regime. And that's on page 6. And it says e-transmission of results, reps betray public trust. And that's from the People Democratic Party. That is on page 7. Now it says UBA UK CEO unveils strategy to bridge Africa's $100 billion trade finance gap. Still on page 7, let's see how beneficial that is to us here in Nigeria. And below all of that, it says reps make U-turn, OK manual in transition of election results. And we have about 5 riders there. It says oppositions walk out over reversal. And it says real-time e-transmission of results divides Senate. And it says rescinds reenacts OK's electronic manual transmission, amends electoral law for INEC to tinker with poll timetable. Only mandatory e-transmission of poll results risky, and that's from Sagay, and that's on page 6. And below that, Jesse Jackson, civil rights leader, dies at 84, and that read you will find on page 25. And that is basically all on the Daily Independent.
All right. Well, thank you, Jumai. Those are our headlines for you this morning. As always, we would encourage you to, by all means, read up details for yourself. It does cover quite a number of things for you. You can stay ahead of fake news, understand what the news perspective is, and then, of course, be better informed. Would like to also remind you that all of these headlines, including their details, are such that we just bring them to you precisely as published by their respective publishers. Global Television, as a broadcast media entity, or the team here on Global Morning, does not in any way contribute to them. Let's take a break now. Shortly, we'll join Ogochukwu Mobono here for Social Bars. Do stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
New Imo is on the rise. In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodinma's leadership has left the pages of manifestos to become real actions and achievements. Transformations that piece by piece feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace to thrive, and in Imo, we are not leaving it to chance. From land to sky to river deep, guardians are always watching, protecting dreams and opportunities. If you go to the quiet shore of Orashi Power, you will see the awakening of a hydropower roaring to electrify and energize a blossoming economy. The change is visible. The heartland of the East is under construction as new roads are threading together once forgotten places. Industry is humming again and communities are alive. At the center of it all, a digital revolution is rising. A new ministry with a new mission. Not just cables and codes, but capacity. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build a digital future. And as Orashi power goes up, so does Imo, lifting with it the hopes of a hard-working people. A new Imo is on the rise.
When social media speaks, we'll listen and we'll bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, and the tea everyone seeks. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get the extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
Headline issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global Television.
Good morning, Nigerians, and good morning, viewers all around the world. It's time to look at buzzing issues making rounds on social media. And today we're looking at something that has been trending for years, but this one is a new development to the story. So this one is from actress Rosie Mayer, actress who is addressing the rumors about her marriage to Olakunle Churchill, who is the ex-husband to Tonto Dike. According to Rosie, she's happy in her marriage and is being treated well. Therefore, she has no reason to unfollow her husband. Of course, there have been rumors that, yes, she unfollowed her husband because her husband found peace with the ex-wife, which is Tonto Dike. Of course, Tonto Dike said, I'm not going to carry this grudge and all of this to 2026. I'm going to allow my child, who is 10 years old now. He celebrated his birthday yesterday, by the way, King Andre, who is 10 years old now, know his father, meet his father. She didn't give, that kind of right all this while, but right now she has found peace with herself and with her ex-husband. So there have been rumors flying that, maybe the present wife, who is Rosie, followed the husband because he actually found peace with his ex-wife. But Rosie is coming out to say that's not the case. So Rosie, who is in Cancun, Mexico, for her birthday, said her husband, Churchill, stayed in Lagos to celebrate the birthday of his son with actress Tonto Dike. She said she gave him the space to be with his son because he hasn't seen him for long, and she's happy because his children get to feel what it's like being with their daddy. I said, I don't know her. I've never met her. This is Rosie saying that she has never met Tonto Dike. I don't know her. I have never met her. We aren't friends. She's like 8, 9, 10 years older than I am. Actress Rosie Mayer addresses claims and, the claims that she snatched the colleague's husband. There have been a lot of rumors. Tonto Dike's ex-husband, Olakunle Churchill, from her. According to Rosie again, she said, people have carried the narrative that she snatched her best friend's, Tonto Dike's husband, after she was introduced to him by the actress. She's coming out to say, contrary to the rumors, nothing like that happened, as she doesn't have any form of relationship with Tonto Dike. Never met her husband, met her husband separately. She said to clear the records, she has never met or seen Tonto before. They don't have each other's number before, daring anyone with proof of otherwise to bring it forward. All right. This story has been on for a while. And since Don Tolike came out to say, oh, I'm now born again, I've given my life to Christ, I want to make peace with everyone who I have, had issues with. I do not want any form of problems anymore in my life. This is 2026 and I want to make everything right. Since she said that, we've been seeing so much with Rosie. Rosie has always come out, shoot videos, trying to, clear one record straight or the other, trying to bring a lot of things. And some places are beginning to say, is she trying to test the faith of Don Tolike? Is she trying to bring up issues where there are no issues? So much to talk about. Well, let's take a look at the video of her addressing the public concerning that.
He's like a brother to me. Another thing that really makes me laugh, because in all honesty, guys, come on. At that time, he was like a brother to me. He was like a brother to me. He was helping me out in my career. He was taking me and my siblings out, and he knew my family and all of that. So if someone is so close to you, what is he? He wasn't my uncle. He was like a brother to me. And then after that, I granted that interview of he was like a brother to me a long time ago. And I'm telling you guys today again, he was like a brother to me at that time. We had nothing going on between us. I didn't know what his life, with his ex was by then. The way you guys saw the whole saga on the internet was the same way I saw it on the internet at that time. So I was a bit younger and naive by then. I didn't really understand everything. It was just like a joke to me. But right now it's actually, hitting me in the sense that, isn't it better I come out and just tell you guys how it is rather than allow you guys speak on my behalf? So this is me speaking for myself today, guys. Please, please, please. I was never best friends with anyone. Never, ever, ever. I don't know her till today. I've never met her. I don't know her. I've never visited their home. No one has ever invited me, then to any married home where I entered and got introduced to a man that I snatched. Do you understand? So please, guys, please, guys, please, guys. This is from me to you guys. I mean no harm. I mean, everyone that my husband likes, I like. Everyone he loves, I love. I love all his children equally. If he comes to me and say, hey babe, I need you to watch my son, I need you to watch my daughter, I will do it with all pleasure. His daughter is with me right now. Do you guys know? No, you don't know. I'm taking care of her right now. She's in my house. So I mean, I'm not a bad person, and I believe that all children deserve both parents. And if God says now is the time for them to reunite, then who am I to say no? I'm living my life. I have other things that I'm up to, that I'm doing. I'm not a witch trying to plan things and say, oh no, this has to be like this, this has to be like this. I mean, what's the point? I wouldn't want anyone to do that to my children, so I would never do it to, another person's child. So my beautiful people, please, please, please just respect us, like just this one time. Like, let my husband spend time with his son in peace. In peace. I beg, please, please, please. Okay? I love you guys, and it's probably, let's just say this is just all a whole misunderstanding. But like I said, if you guys have proof that I've been the best friend to anyone and I went into someone's house and I stole someone's husband, please bring out the proof, because I'm lost and I'm confused. I never knew anyone. I was never friends with anyone, and that remains, until proven otherwise. Then please, this is you hearing from me. I still remain Mrs. Rosalind Mura Churchill. Refer to me as Mrs. Churchill. Clock it.
All right, so that's Rosie trying to set the record straight according to her, that she has nothing to do with Don Tolike. She never met her, and as a matter of fact, she would love to be addressed still as Mrs. Churchill. Of course, nobody's taking that away from her, but I feel like I sense a bit of insecurity here. I don't know about you. So let's take a bit of some comments from social media as regards this topic, and the first comment is coming from Incredible MC Jolly. And MC Jolly says, sometimes silence helps a situation better than certain explanations. He was married, and not knowing the wife is not a justification for indulging him. A bit. Both of you are adults. If both of you are happy, then enjoy. Leave the caveat. Okay, leave the caveat. So Incredible MC Jolly says, thank you so much. All right, the next comments coming from Victoria's Gifty, and Victoria says, truth be told, she didn't snatch the man from anybody. The man was emotionally down and she was available to lend him a shoulder. That was how love happened. This was exactly what transpired. Thank you so much. This should be like a friend. I think she knows better. All right, the last but not the least, comments coming from Instagloss. And Instagloss says, Tonto has forgiven Churchill for cheating on her with you. Stop trying to gaslight her or create drama between them with these comments. Tonto is not trying to snatch your husband. You should be more worried about the white lady he was spotted with in London, or the Ghanaian lady he lives with in Ghana, or the fact that you are both living separate lives in 2 different countries, while claiming to still be married. Perhaps you should speak your truth on that. Tonto is the least of your problems, madam. All right, thank you so much, Instagloss. This person, I think this one really has a lot of information to spew, and I don't know if we're ready for that discussion this morning. Well, I'm not alone in the studio. I have with me Uyi Agbomofuegbe. Good morning, Uyi.
Good morning, Gochika. As always, it's a delight to be here with you.
All right, thank you, Oye. So today we're talking about Churchill, Tonto Dike, and Rosemary. There's a lot going on, and I'm happy that you've been following the story, of course.
Right.
And it started from when she gave her life to Christ. She gave the testimony of how she's no longer in her bad ways anymore. She's now a good person. And then we saw a few weeks ago she kind of have this get together with her ex-husband, saying she's no longer having any kind of grudge with in her about him, and she's allowing custody. Let them co-parent. The husband has never met the son for over 10 years. He has never met the son, and the son just clocked 10 years yesterday, only for Rosie to come out with so much drama and all of that. Do you think all of this are necessary? What do you think?
Okay, I'll tell you what it is. Coincidentally, all the 3 persons we're talking about now, Tonto Dike, Churchill, of course the man in between the 2 ladies, and then of course his wife, as it stands today, are full-blown adults, which means that already by whatever counts, are responsible for their choices, for their actions, and for their decisions. It was a decision Tonto Dike and Churchill made in the first instance to get together, have a child together, and then of course they also made the decision to go their separate ways, even though that was nasty. It was all over social media for the wrong reasons, and then of course the gentleman ended up with another lady. Wasn't the drama of, no, I've never met you, I don't know you from anywhere, I don't have your phone number, anybody who has proof otherwise, or to the contrary, should provide it. Of course, we know receipts will be flying very soon, as they say. And then on the other hand, Tonto Dike has said, look, I'm towing a new path now. I'm a changed person. I live by different set of principles now. However, I can't carry this bad blood any further. So I'm going to have to forgive myself, forgive my ex-husband, at least for the mental health of our child, for the well-being of our child, and just so that we can all have peace. And I think that's a very thoughtful decision to make, right? I also feel this drama of, this lady is not in the country, Churchill's wife as we speak.
Rosie.
So is it necessary to do all of this? You are the man's wife now. Nobody has come forward to contradict that, to debate it, or to protest it. So why is this video necessary at this point in time? What I'm now looking at, Ogochiko, is this is going to be content gone wrong. Because you're going to see people coming out from all over the place, brandishing stuff and telling you did this in 2019, you did this in 2021. They're going to bring up stuff like maybe pictures of you and Tonto Dike.
They already,
not AI pictures.
All interviews
right. So
right
we're
now.
going to see scientific proof that what you're saying is not the truth. And when that happens, it's going to be nasty, it's going to be embarrassing. I know we live in an age where people really don't care about scandals anymore. So they just want to be out there. They just want to be heard of. They want to be visible. They want to be seen as influencers or content creators or what have you. But at the heart of it all, we're looking at the family. So if that matters enough, it means we must be very careful, I dare say extremely cautious, the things we put out there. People don't understand how that silence can be more powerful than 1,000 words.
Very true.
We need to know when to stop. I think that's the challenge with most of us. We don't know when to stop. You've got to stop. Tonto Dike looks at herself 1 minute and she says to herself, we can't continue like this. We've got to do a U-turn or 180. And she has done that. So Churchill's wife now, as she stands, you understand that the young man is also celebrating his 10th birthday. Talking about the child between Tonto Dike and Churchill. So you don't want to outshine that. You don't want to overshadow that. If you were going to say anything at all, I think there should have been a better time. So there are two issues here, finally, Ogochukwu. There's one, the necessity or otherwise of putting out this video. And the second is the timeliness of it. So I think with those two issues, I say thumb down.
Thank you so much, Uyi, for your contribution. Well, just like I said, I see it as insecurity playing out there. She's just insecure about it because you know this person is your husband. You gave him the right to travel to go see his son, his first son, and also celebrate the birthday. So what are you insecure about? But this is insecurity showing its face there. Anyways, thank you so much once again, Uyi, for your contribution to today's topic on Social Buzz here on Global Morning. And this is where we close the curtains for Social Buzz here on Global Morning. I'll be leaving you in the hands of Uyi and Jumai as they usher us into the discussion section of Global Morning. So stay with us. Good morning once again, Nigeria and viewers around the world. I am Ogochukwu Mobno. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, we'll listen and we'll bring you the extra. It's your one-stop show for trends, truth, and the tea everyone seeks. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get the extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global Television.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
You Let's begin from the ground up, right? Elections in Abuja, across all 6 area councils for chairmanship and councillorship will be holding this Saturday. We'll be having this conversation for a while, but of course we'll continue today, even into the election day proper, given that one of the broken links in our leadership politically in this country is at the local government level, which is at the grassroots level. And until, like our guest also alluded to on the program yesterday, we are able to find a strong connect between grassroots leadership and the people at that level, we are always going to not be able, for the most part, get it right at the very top of it. So at this point in time, Nigeria is in a season where it must be intentional, it must decide whether it wants to lead from the base up. And this election scheduled for this Saturday, 21st of February, across all 6 area councils in the Federal Capital Territory, is going to be some sort of litmus test for, well, the administrators of the process, the stakeholders themselves, and indeed for the process, because whether you like it or not, we are going to continually have local government elections across this country. And this Saturday, our Global Television will also be bringing you a special coverage of the exercise. You and I were talking, Joe, just a while ago about the restriction of movements this Saturday. Of course, people have raised concerns about how that in this day and age, you still have to restrict movement just because it's an election. I'm not sure we have the energy to discuss all of that this morning, even though it's a big, big concern.
Yes, it is.
But more importantly, we now need to look at the role of local governments in leadership, because we always have our eyes on governors, on legislators, especially at the federal level.
Yes.
Senators, House of Representatives members, and of course the big one, the president. And we have also talked about how that time and again, for every problem, big, small, and in between, everybody's running to Abuja, everybody's running to Aso Rock, everybody's running to the president. Whereas some of these issues are supposed to be resolved by maybe your council, who is more like your next door neighbor or your chairman. These are basic things, but it's sad that you still see people bringing protests from across the country, end to end, to Abuja for things that the governors should have already addressed or the local government chairman should be tackling. And that's the reason you see when this issue of fuel subsidy savings came up, a lot of persons said, look, enough of all of these, if you like, misplacement of priorities. A lot of monies are now being sent to the states, in some cases tries what they used to get. So if Jumai as a state governor was getting 50,000 naira the entire time, and now we say, well, because we have done very humongous savings on account of suspending fuel subsidy payments, we're now going to be giving her 150,000 instead of 50,000. It means we have tripled, all right?
Amount.
Exactly. So there's no better time to now hold you accountable as a governor.
Exactly.
All right. So the irony is we still find people bringing all of those issues to Abuja. And then lastly, in August of 2024, there was a Supreme Court ruling that handed autonomy altogether to local governments. Right from then till now, this is some 1 year and 8 months, it is still a question of whether or not local government councils have autonomy. And that's what I was saying just at the top of this conversation, that these elections will be a determining factor as to whether we're serious regarding being able to lead ourselves at the very grassroots level.
Yes, it's very important. Like you said, this particular election will determine all of that. And individuals need to understand when they're in a particular position to know what they hold. Some of them, they don't really know their TOR. That's terms of reference. And it's just unfortunate that that is what it is. Like when you are in a position at the lower level, like you mentioned, there is something called evaluation where you understand your terms of reference. You know what you are accountable for. Most of them, they do not understand, they do not know. They just go into this particular political space because sometimes public interest or because they're loyalists or all of that encompassed. But at the same time, let's see what this election will hold. Hopefully it brings good tidings, and at the end of it all, we see the result, which is beneficial to individuals in the grassroots level, which is very important. Instead of storming to Abuja when it comes to legal issues that you can resolve amongst yourselves.
Right.
Sometimes it's all about personal gain and personal interest.
right.
If you look at it critically, it's all about that. But let's just see. Hopefully, there is a twist around it, and individuals are becoming more aware and know that, okay, hey, there are things I can handle within my own terrain. I do not have to escalate to a higher ground. After all, I have been put in that position. I have been equipped with all I need, so there's no point taking it to a higher ground.
That's right. Like we mentioned a while ago, we'll also be looking at the Electoral Act 2022 bill that's been very controversial the whole time, and now we're hearing that things are beginning to settle a little. Then we'll also talk about this in detail. The issue of the election for this Saturday will be joined by someone who is on the ground and has been following developments at the grassroots level. Let's take a break, and when we return, it will be our first guest talking about the blue economy and where Nigeria is right now, and of course issues around policy and global best practices. Stay with us.
New Imo is on the rise. In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodinma's leadership has left the pages of manifestos to become real actions and achievements. Transformations that piece by piece feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace to thrive, and in Imo, we are not leaving it to chance. From land to sky to river deep, guardians are always watching, protecting dreams and opportunities. If you go to the quiet shore of Orashi Power, you will see the awakening of a hydropower roaring to electrify and energize a blossoming economy. The change is visible. The heartland of the East is under construction as new roads are threading together once forgotten places. Industry is humming again and communities are alive. At the center of it all, a digital revolution is rising. A new ministry with a new mission. Not just cables and codes, but capacity. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build a digital future. And as Orashi Power goes up, so does Imo, lifting with it the hopes of a hard-working people. A new Imo is on the rise.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all. From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, let's get on the road with our first conversation this morning, everyone. We're looking at the economic drive of this government, especially as it has to do with the blue economy's contribution to Nigeria's GDP. So then, we're joined by someone who is not just an expert in this field, but is passionate in it and has invested time, resources, and so much of expertise in this regard. Our guest this morning is Olushola Gegele. We'd like to say a big thank you to you. If you don't mind me calling you Shola, we appreciate your decision to join us on Global Morning today.
Pleasant morning, good morning. Am I audible, please? Am I audible? Good morning.
Well, Juma and I will be engaging you for the next couple of minutes, basically on this conversation. I mean, you've built quite a robust background regarding this issue we're looking at this morning. In recent times, the term blue economy is beginning to gain some popularity or traction, if you will. Help our viewers understand what it means beyond just a body of water.
Thank you so much for having me this morning, and good morning, viewer. So basically, you have to first differentiate what is the difference between green economy and blue economy. So for green economy, we appreciate that it's all about agriculture, and for the blue economy, people see it's all about water. But far different between water, blue economy has proven to be something quite expensive, because what is organic, it's only good for the rich. What is NPK, like what is more on using something that's natural, it's quite expensive. When you go to most stores in developed country, when you want to buy something that is green, it's only meant for the rich. So that's when the blue economy comes to stay. And the great definition by Professor Gunther Pauling, which I work closely with, is blue economy is using what is locally available to create multiple values from what we see as a waste, and what are the products that we can derive from the oceans. So having said this, we have different components of the blue economy. I'm going to talk briefly on shipbuilding and ship transportation, on our inland water transportations that we need to unlock.
Contribute to our gross domestic product, because whether you like it or not, these things have to come to Naira and Kobo at some point in time. And for a country like ours that's blessed, I mean, potentially at least, in this regard, we can't overlook all of that endowments. And as such, we would like to also talk to him about the ultimate $1 trillion targets for the economy, by the Tinubu administration. We understand Olushola is back with us. So, okay, just before he rejoins now, we also need to ask him questions about sheep. If you've followed really our economy and the way I should say, blue economy works in Nigeria at this point in time, we're not big on ship making yet, which also means that that in itself is a challenge. What exactly is the framework? What projection do we have in place to ensure that we play big time in that area? All right. Because whether you like it or not, Nigeria must find a way to catch up with the rest of the world. We'd like to say a big thank you to you, Olushola, for rejoining us. You were trying to establish a narrative a while ago. Would you be kind enough to quickly land on that?
Okay, thank you so much. So I was talking about different components of the blue economy. We have the shipbuilding and ship transportations, which is one. We have the marine biotechnology, which is two. We have the renewable energy, which is quite dear to me, which we are actually going to talk about. We have the fishery and aquaculture, which is a great component of the blue economy. Likewise, we have tourism and we have waste management. And the most important part about the blue economy is bioeconomics of the blue economy, which are the components that I want us to talk briefly this morning. We just go straight to the point. Have we been practicing blue economy in Nigeria? Fine, we have the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, but at the moment, we have not understand what are the fundamentals and how do we unlock portfolio of new opportunities in Nigeria Marine and Blue Economy. So let me talk briefly on the definition of blue economy. Blue economy has been defined by World Bank, as we know, activities around the oceans for conservative and unlock new opportunities around oceans. So, but far beyond water, we need to look at it from the terrestrial land. What are the things we do on the land that are not sustainable, that affect the aquatic creature in our water? We have to understand what are the new innovations that we can get on the land to make our water blue. So now, having said this, let's talk about the marine transportations in Nigeria and shipbuilding. You agree with me that Nigeria is not working when it comes in terms of construction of ships. We have to bring component of ships to the country. But what are the things we have our oceans that can do it? Blue economy is not a linear way of thinking. It's a non-linear way of approaching things from mathematical model, which has been defined by Professor Gunther in his book, Blue Economy 5.0. It's a book that we are trying to make seamless for Nigerians to study it in English, Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba on the opportunities of the blue economy. Now, when you talk about shipbuilding, what are the materials we have in replace of steel that we can use for shipbuilding in Nigeria? One, Lagos State and Ondo State has abundance of silica sand. Silica sand can be turned into glass fiber. When you add glass fiber from silica sand, you have a new industry of building ships. We are not talking about the bigger ship, but inland water transportation ships using glass fiber. We have silica sand in our water, far in abundance. What are we using it for? Nothing at the moment. So this is a multi-trillion-dollar economy that we've not unlocked on shipbuilding in Nigeria in terms of that. Then when you want to design ships, our inland water transportation, our inland depths are not so big. So what we need to do is design a low draft 1.5 to 1.8 meter draft of ferry that can carry passenger of 100 to 150 to 200 passengers, moving from point A to point B. How can you imagine from Lagos to Ondo State? It's less than 2 hours by water. So how do we unlock the transportation of Lagos Jetty to Ondo Jetty, from Ondo to Kogi? It's less than another 1 hour. So this is how we need to build the blue economy that is sustainable. The most important thing about it is IMO has made it mandatory that we should do green shipping. So can we use our water in developing an hydrogen technology for this? Absolutely, it's possible. Can we introduce, it's going to be a blend renewable energy solution, not just only one solution that we need to work in terms of the shipbuilding in Nigeria. So there's a lot of opportunity we can unlock on that. That's on top of the shipbuilding. If you permit me to talk on another one, I can talk about the bioeconomics of the blue economy. One greatest opportunity that we've not harnessed in Nigeria is water hyacinth. Water hyacinth as seaweed are blessing to Nigeria. In Indonesia, Indonesia creates 5 million jobs from water hyacinth and seaweed as a new economy of the blue economy. 5 million jobs from seaweed in Indonesia. You can Google it. Now, water hyacinth, we use money every year to harvest water hyacinth in Nigeria. So this is a new opportunity of how can we do it as a feed for fish? How can we use water hyacinth as a biogas, which I'm doing right now? How can we use water hyacinth for handcraft products that become an eco-friendly for European countries that are switching to eco-friendly products from water hyacinth? Indonesia is doing this. We are talking to the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs to engage 3,000 women across the 774 locals in Nigeria. Every community that have inland water transportation has water hyacinth. What are the new opportunities we can unlock in that? So that's two. So when you look at the seaweed I talk about, Niger Delta has abundance of seaweed that we are now cultivating added value to. So a typical example of the industry of where you can unlock in seaweed. Look at the rice production in Nigeria. 3 tons per hectare, 2.5 tons per hectare. They say Taiwan is doing 8 tons per hectare. From biostimulation of water hyacinth, we can create a lot of abundance of products from seaweed. So this is the bioeconomics of the blue economy, unlocking new opportunities. It's all about innovation and develop a business model. So I think I have to stop in that if you want to call me with another question.
All right, Shola, with all of this that you have said when it comes to the blue economy, do you think as Nigeria, we are prepared and we understand the fundamentals surrounding the blue economy and the impact it will bring to development?
Sure. we are aware it's just the synergy that is not there. We do things in a silo. We don't do things in collaborations. It's high time we take away the ego of this is my own area that I'm focusing on. Blue economy is about collaborations. We have to collaborate to unlock new knowledge. What we've been following and what we've been taught in school is what we call ex ante. Why blue economy is about ex post. What did I mean by ex ante and ex post? When you look at it from the business development, you analyze what are the opportunities. These are what we've been doing in the blue economy in Nigeria. Why the originality of the blue economy is ex post. As you are building, you unlock new opportunity, new initiatives has to come on. So you don't have to work alone in silo and said, this is how we understand it. When you bring multiple stakeholders together, from the MDAs, from different tertiary institutions, from different professional body, work together and you unlock new opportunity. This is a simple way of unlocking portfolio of opportunities in the blue economy. Why I can tell you a typical example of one of it quickly. Look at waste management. One of the problems of the blue economy is plastic in our oceans. As I'm talking to you, I am collecting plastics in Kwara State on daily basis. I am producing 2,500 liters of ultra low sulfur diesel from plastic waste. Maybe the next time you bring me here, you can do like a few 30-second video of my factory where I collect plastic waste, all plastic waste that you see in our ocean or you see in the landfill. I process it into diesel and I have market already for it. I have an engagement with the Federal Ministry of Environment. We've displayed it on the national program where the ministers and every stakeholder in the waste management were there. So these are things we do a paralysis. So these are opportunities. But what goes beyond my own knowledge? It's the waste coming from this. Who needs to give it to me? The byproduct of my plastic, which industry needs to use it? So it's not a linear way of thinking. It's a regenerative way of understanding new opportunity from what we see plastic as a waste become a source of values to us. Thank you so much.
About what are the challenges Nigeria has to deal with really in this regard? Because I want us to create a bit of perspective. This government, that is the administration of President Bola Tinubu, says that by 2030, the goal is for our economy to hit a $1 trillion mark. And whether you like it or not, as it stands today and going further into the future, it's got to be such that the blue economy is expected to contribute very significantly in that direction. What are the things we must quickly do now, given that time isn't our friend, to ensure that we do not miss out on big opportunities?
Thank you so much for that wonderful question. I think it's possible, and I'm so much optimistic that it's possible because when you look at Indonesia of $1.3 trillion economy, 285 million population, 7.5 to 8% poverty rates, Indonesia has proven to us that $1 trillion is possible. But we quickly need to align with my last submissions, collaborations. We have to collaborate. We have to share that arrow of, oh, I'm superior than you. Every rural community needs to get involved with what they have. And how do we add multiple value to products, not just one product that the government of Nigeria is looking at. A typical example that I can tell you of how to get to $1 trillion economy. Let's take coconuts as a typical example. Akwa Ibom and Cross River has abundance of coconuts. When you look at everything in coconuts has values. Number one, let's start from hybrid of coconuts, which is good for their climate environment. Secondly, when you harvest these coconuts, the shell of coconuts, when you paralyze it, it becomes activated voucher that the gold mine needs. A ton of activated charcoal from coconut is sold for $4,000. That is the waste from coconut shell, the brown shell of coconut that you know. 1 ton of it, when you paralyze it into an activated charcoal, is sold for $4,000. So how many of that is a waste that we can add value to? So you see, we are thinking in a no-linear approach. How can you tell me that agricultural waste become a resources that gold mine need in Nigeria? Are we practicing that? No, that's one. The water from coconuts, which industry need it? For what health care do we need to use it for? When you crack the coconut, the cake inside, how do we extract the milk? The children that need it, how do we unlock that? So these are portfolio of new opportunities that we don't need to think in one industry, but how multiple sectors collaborate together to add value from what we think it is significant. This is the only way Indonesia and Brazil has been able to get to surpass $1 trillion economy. So we need to add multiple values to answer your question to what we see as a waste in Nigeria. I can give you a typical another example of it: rice production in Nigeria. When you harvest rice, you look at it that what is the GDP? What are we getting from rice? And how do we create value from waste of rice that is more advantageous than the rice that we are consuming as well? The waste has more value. So that's just, we have to add value to our waste to answer your question. That's the only way we can get to $1 trillion economy. Thank you.
Shola, talking about value now, you know, Nigeria, we're dependent on oil. Now, how can the marine sector help reduce that dependence when it comes to oil sector?
Yeah, I think we are doing that at the moment now. It's just that we are not doing enough. At the moment, you know, most of our budgets now, it's not fully depend on oil and gas. We have switched to non-oil sectors for achieving that, but we are actually not still doing enough, but we're not doing bad. But for me, I think we need to understand how to unlock new opportunities. We can learn from China. We can learn from other countries that have done similar things that we are about to start doing. We can leapfrog, which is just to score the old answer. And the easiest way for us to move away from oil is to go back to agricultural product and mining and add value to what we have not been adding value to. A typical example as well. I always like giving concrete examples. Gold. Gold, it's not going to be what we should depend on when we're looking at the mining industry. But rare earth mineral that we are going to get from the waste of gold. From the waste of gold. When you process your gold, the waste water from gold add more value. That is where the rare earth minerals is. When you go to Taiwan, is the highest country that is making chips. They use waste from gold. I'm just opening it up to you to see adding value from what we've ignored before. These are the way we should try to understand moving away from oil and gas and adding value to some other sectors of what we see as irrelevant. Thank you.
A while now, I mean, last few years in particular, we've been hearing about energy transition. And we've seen countries, I mean, you mentioned Taiwan a while ago. We've seen countries in Asia, countries in Latin America, I mean, entirely across the continental America. And we've seen a few countries too on our own continent here, especially in East Africa, towing that path, understanding, and to use your term, thinking in a manner that is non-linear about energy. Unfortunately, Nigeria is a country still dealing with epileptic supply of power. How can we leverage the blue economy to better drive our power sector beyond the conventional approach that we know at the moment?
Thank you so much. When we talk about the renewable energy in the blue economy, the most practical aspect that we've seen that is still coming up is hydrogen, which can be used for industrializations. And Taiwan has done it. We have I work closely, full disclosure, I work closely with the founder of the blue economy in the world. I brought him to Nigeria. Immediately we established the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. He met with the Honorable Minister, and we tried to identify portfolio opportunities for Nigeria. But we know we are still analyzing that leads to paralysis. And I've moved away from the theory aspect to practical aspect of the blue economy. I have a center in the University of Ilorin called Center for Blue and Regenerative Economy. And we are actually engaging on reality of what are the things we can use. So to answer your question on renewable energy, there are many sources of energy. that we can tap into. When you look at it from the ocean, there's thermal energy from the oceans, but it's not going to achieve because of the ice and innovative angle that we have not only understand the physics of the water. So we have to understand the DNA of our water first before we know how to generate current from the water. But hydrogen has proved it that, okay, you can take water that is salty, which we look at the area where we have salty water, and it has been proven that we can get up to 10 megawatt to 20 megawatt per clusters in different coastal area in Nigeria. That is one. Secondly, moving away from water, kites, the same kites that the children used to move with. It's a law of gravity that happened there. The more they run, the more it goes up. That's the law of gravity. Yeah, my company, Premium Blue Economy Innovation and Investments, has partnership with Porima in Taiwan and a company called SkyCell in Germany to develop a kite technology that goes up to 200 meters, and we can have 5 megawatt of energy. All you need to do, it has a robotic and AI technology that moves away from, it's an altitude energy that goes up to the sky. And the most abundant sort of energy you can get in the world is when you go altitude up to the sky, not the wind turbine or whatever we see. So when you go up to 200 meters, you can achieve from 2 to 5 megawatt of energy. So imagine area where we have airline or plane restricted area. That means we have abundance of energy. That's another source of energy. Now, when you look at it from our land field, most land field in Nigeria has maintained. How do we achieve maintain gas? Which that's what I'm doing. I'm generating syngas from plastics, so which is a source of new energy that is even cleaner from that. So we have to move away from oil and gas and understand every other source of energy that we can tap into in Nigeria, which is in abundance for us, and move away from the national grid that has been collapsed. Fair enough, this administration has made it like, okay, we've removed energy from concurrent list to executive list to concurrent list, which state governments and individual can generate energy by themselves. In my factory, I'm generating my energy myself. I'm using my syngas from my plastic waste to run my factory, so which I don't need to depend on anybody to move away. Which we have solar, which is growing up, but solar cannot go for industrializations. And we are talking about industrialization in the blue economy. We need to look at what can give us a megawatt, not number of land that we need to put solar panel, that we know 2050, there will be shortage of food. So we need more land to grow, not more land for solar panel. So we have to look beyond solar panel and focus on energy that are more sustainable and more easy for us to generate. Thank you so much.
Communities now. How can local communities benefit from the marine resources? Very importantly, it has to be beneficial to all, right? So how do we focus on the local communities coming on board?
So last week I had a meeting with the Honorable Commissioner for Blue Economy in Bayelsa State, and I proposed 3 proposals to them. One, they have swamp area. They have pet land, which is more of wetland that does nothing grow there. We are partnering with them to bring sagu. Sagu is like a nipa palm tree that grows more in an invasive way, which is affecting their mangrove in the Niger Delta. So what we propose to them is, let's follow Indonesia model. And we are bringing it in April. I'm bringing 2 experts from Indonesia that is going to use unused land in Niger Delta to grow sagu. Sagu is like a palm tree that is bigger. And in 5 years, each sagu is going to give you 400 kg of starch. That starch is what they use to make noodles. When you look at Indomie, it's called Indonesia meal. They make Indomie is even the number 5th in Indonesia when it comes to noodles rating. So which we consume more as a staple food here in Nigeria. So how can we turn a rural community or a local coastal area that live in abject poverty to what they have as a land, and we can grow something that gives us 400 kg. And imagine a community that have 20 hectares of land, right, that are not being productive, planting which are good, that can grow 5 years. And they are good every year, there will be carbon credit markets on what they grow. So they need students and environmental students to understand the carbon sequences of what this thing is actually doing. Now, who do they need to talk to? They have to talk to oil and gas that are polluting. They have to talk to aviation that are polluting and said, we are planning this thing that is carbon sequences. We have to offset your carbon credits here. So that community can use to develop that. And in 5 years, the economic aspects of it comes in. And what comes after when a community or a land that belongs to a family in a rural area that live in abject poverty is being utilized. Now they meet up with the social status of the community or of the nation where they have funds as well to compete. Their poverty move away from that community. Then what comes in terms of prosperity? Industry will spring up to that community, because when we know we can use it for pharmaceutical industry, for cosmetics industry, and I'm talking about food now, starch that you can use to make food, noodles. Indonesia is doing a large number of noodles from their starch productions. And these plants, make us realize that when you can use what you have locally, you create economic prosperity. And that is how industry comes into that. So when industry comes, electricity will definitely come in. So you have to innovate before infrastructure. So in Nigeria, for us, I believe every community needs to look at what we have as abundance, what we have as comparative advantage, and how do we bring people to have multiple value, not one value, multiple value from one product. And this is what blue economy it's all about. And this is how we can lift people out of poverty and how we can reduce the poverty rates in Nigeria. So likewise, finally, let me say this. I'm working closely with the Bureau of Statistics, which we have an MOU with them, exactly what we're discussing to create portfolio of opportunities. It's been funded by World Bank, but at the moment we are in the pilot stage first with the Bureau of Statistics, National Bureau of Statistics, to understand what are the new regenerative economic products that we can lift Nigeria, can give Nigeria into a $1 trillion economy. Thank you.
We would like to say we appreciate, quite frankly, the very valuable thoughts that you've shared on the show this morning, Olushola Gegele. I would say enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, quite an interesting conversation about the blue economy and the different elements in it. Sometimes we look at this thing basically on the surface, but when you have an expert like this delve into it, you begin to realize that this whole thing is deeper than we realize. And then, of course, it shows once again that the government and all of the critical stakeholders have quite an enormous amount of work to do.
Yeah, an enormous amount of work. Well said. And at the same time, there's a lot of knowledge behind it. It makes so much sense that we can actually, there's much more than oil and gas. Blue economy has come, and it has come to stay, and also the green economy at the same time. There's a lot more when it comes to harnessing and for the development and for infrastructure when it comes to Nigeria.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a quick break, everyone. Juma and I will return with the rest of the program shortly. Please don't go away. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning.
For the latest issues,
Always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, just to let you know that we'll be looking at two more issues this morning. Hopefully time allows us to do that. We're looking at the future now, I mean, going forward, issues around the election in Nigeria. You know, issues have been raised about the process, of course, always about the process, where after every election cycle, the entire blame is heaped on INEC. But now, I'm sure legislators at the federal level now are trying to make it a little easier for not just INEC, but to be able to strengthen, well, transparency, accountability, fairness, and of course, trusts. Because one of the reasons why people don't vote is they say, my vote will not count. So why do you want me to leave my house? I mean, the comfort of my small house, and I'll go under the sun. And so for many people, that's quite a concern, right?
It
is.
is.
Want to talk about that this morning. We also want to look at the election that has now been scheduled for the Saturday. We understand our guest is ready. Let's take a break now as we push this conversation further. Right, so we're spending a few minutes to quickly look at this for perspective because all of those who have thrown their hats in the ring, in a manner of speaking, in this area council election scheduled for Saturday, for some reason, obvious reasons, under some sort of pressure, because everyone is putting their best foot forward, and as we always say, may the best man win. We're joined by PDP councillorship candidate for Amaka this morning, Honorable Loveth Izeko. Loveth will say a big thank you to you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for
great.
being
So
here.
my colleague Juma and I just want to interact with you for a few minutes about this election. But let's begin from grassroots leadership, because that's essentially what this is about. Yesterday, we had a similar conversation with a guest, and we cycled back to August of 2024 when the Supreme Court delivered, if you like, a groundbreaking verdict at that point, handing over, so to speak, autonomy to local governments. Everybody wants to lead at that level, local government chairmanship, councillorship, and what have you. What exactly is the agenda? What do we want to do differently? Because we've heard people complain about the crop of chairmen and councillors who are in position today across all the area councils. What would you do differently, for example?
Okay, good morning and thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
First, I just want to make a correction. I'm actually the PDP councillorship candidate for City Centre Ward.
Oh, City Centre Ward.
Yes, in Abuja Municipal
Oh,
Council.
great, great.
And what am I going to do differently? And most times people ask me why I recently resigned as Director of Business Development, AMAC Investment, to contest for this particular election. And most times people ask me, why will I do that? Then I make them understand that I want to serve the people. And as we all know, councillorship position is the closest to the grassroots.
Right.
And I'm a very strong advocate of community engagement and development. So I believe, in regards to what you asked, I believe the community, the local government needs to practice the autonomy in order for them to have direct impact in decision making and all that to the people in the community. Because most times, most of this engagement, most of the federal engagements, they are not really implemented by the community. For instance, I'm not trying to make a bad impression about any agencies or parastatal. If they were to be an outreach, most times it doesn't even get to the people at the grass roots. So I think, in a nutshell, I think the federal government needs to allow I will speak for myself as a councillor because I'm going to be a legislator at the local government. Need to allow the local government to practice this autonomy so that they can have direct impact to their people. For myself, my ward, city center, is already a developed place with good road network, light, water, and all that. And of course, there's security, there's issue of security and some other challenges. But personally, we have a whole lot of youths who are unemployed. They are graduates with good certificates. And if you even ask most of them what you're doing, you see a lot of them who are doing POS. Business and so many
That's
other
point
things.
of sale.
Yes, and so many other things. So we are going to be carrying out a lot of initiative. We're going to introduce a lot of initiative through the local government, through the area council, but I'm going to be leveraging on my oversight function as a legislator. So we're going to be doing a lot of programs, skills acquisition program, in order to train the youth more, especially on the digital side of skills acquisition, train them more, empower them. Then as a business developer on my side, I'm going to be, through my NGO as well, we're going to be carrying out a lot of programs. So I think, yeah.
Now, looking at residents in your own area, how can they hold you when it comes to accountability, transparency? That, like you mentioned, you're for the people, you have that relationship. How can they have that communal relationship with you when it comes to accountability and, of course, transparency?
Personally, when I'm having an interaction with my people, I always let them know that we're going to be having regular town hall meetings.
Okay.
Because most times when you hear town hall meetings, people would think it's related to the people in the rural areas. So I make them understand we're going to be having regular town hall meetings. We're going to be having interactive session where I will get to hear directly from the people and their need and their areas of concern and how they think we can move our community forward. Then accountability. Yes, I personally going to have a team from different areas because from my own points of understanding, city center, we zone it down to about 25 areas. So we're going to be having team from these different areas that will be working with me directly. I think so. Then any other ways they intend to do that, I'm very open to it because I'm coming to serve the people, and that's
very
I
importantly.
To do well. Yeah.
Let's go gender specific for a second. Women. Incidentally, you are a woman, right? When you look at grassroots leadership, women take the brunt most times when there's gap in leadership, when the so-called dividends of democracy do not trickle down. How do you intend to plug that gap and elevate women?
I happen to be the only female candidate out of 62 ward here in FCT.
Is that an advantage for you?
No, it's actually a disadvantage. But why I'm saying this is that it indicates that we have more work to do because we were about 5 women from different wards who aspired for this, and I happen to be the only one who emerged. And I also have an NGO called Young Ladies in Politics. We are situated in 27 states here in Nigeria. So it's a platform where I use to encourage young women to participate. It's a safe place for us where we put our voice together to strive for more. But in a nutshell, I would say that there needs to be more mentorship And there's this thing women do that I think it's a disadvantage to us. When a woman who's in position, they don't mentor, they don't groom a successor. So we need to do that. Women need to do that. When you groom a successor, obviously it's going to indicate that there's somebody else who has the competency, who has the capacity to occupy such position or even other political position. And when women do that, even more than one, you can have more than 5 mentees. And you know, gradually we'll cover up that gap, that space, and you see the narrative begin to change. And women, young women in generally, we need to be very, there's another challenge for my observation. We need to be very supportive, not just saying it, but in actions as well.
Very important.
Because when you bring a group of women together, especially when it comes to leadership positions, it's not just relating to politics alone, and definitely you get to see some issues. Let me just target issues. And women has the highest registered votes all over Nigeria. If all the women in Nigeria decide to support a female candidate for presidency, I don't think anybody will win that. So women, we need to really practice what we are preaching. We need to encourage ourselves more. And then we need to learn to stand behind other women in political positions or leadership, other women, instead of fighting them or trying to bring them down. Then while doing this, we also need to think where we are today. Our mothers, women before us, fought for this because there was a time women were not allowed to vote. So we need to have that thought at the back of our mind, knowing that whatever the actions we're taking to today have impacts on the next generation of women.
Talking about the next generation of women, now the Salma out there or the Nefisa out there, individuals in that constituency that feel, hey, I will not come out to vote because at the long run, when anything happens here in our constraint, these individuals in who we have placed in position take our matters to the federal level. They do not, there's a word I'm looking for, they do not handle it here so that there can be a weight of what I'm talking about. Now, how have you gone out to encourage individuals, not being gender specific now, both male and female, coming out to vote and saying, hey, this is a new sheriff in town. I will ensure this is done by the grace of God, but just come out and vote, closing that gap of that restraint when it comes to voting.
Yes, that has been a challenge recently. But as a community person, I'm part of my community, and I've been carrying out a lot of programs and initiatives in my community. So last year during the 16 days gender activism, we did it at the community level where we invited women from all areas. We tried to enlighten them on how they could, as a community, stand against gender-based violence and discuss about the advantage and disadvantage of digital as well. I'm trying to make them understand, because while we are campaigning, that's one of the things we do tell them. You don't have to be discouraged. Of course, there's a popular saying that every day for the thief, one day for the owner. What if that one day for the owner you are absent? So it won't really happen. So we're trying to encourage them. You just have to keep trying. You have to keep coming out. You have to keep practicing. It's your rights. And every decision, every leaders who are being elected in this country starts with just that your one vote. And that your one vote, without you participating, that decision cannot be taken. Of course, they might feel like their doesn't count, or the leaders they are electing are not really the leaders who
doesn't have them at heart.
Yes. So we keep telling them every life, every phase of life have different narration. Of course, every great country today have passed through almost the same thing.
Very true.
Nigeria, we are passing through. Definitely one day we'll be there, and the right set of individuals. And I encourage them, especially the young ones, not just female, but particularly females, and encourage them participate in politics. Become a card-carrying member of a political party. Then if you feel like what is happening there is not right, you go there and change it. Go there and make it right. And that could happen. That could only happen if you are a card-carrying member of a political party. But of course, you cannot contest election when you are not a party.
Very true.
Not just being a card-carrying member, but participates in politics. Then every opportunity you have, show your capacity and your competency, because that matters as well. And you learn during the process. Then you aspire for political positions. If you're there, whatever changes you think, which I am trying to do, because most times people don't consider councillorship position and they feel like, oh, it's just councillor. But I'm trying to make them know there's more a councillor can do, because after all, in Nigeria as a country is made up of people, and those people start at the community level. So you being a councillor, being a legislator for your community, that is where the impact begins. So that is the message I'm trying to pass with what I'm aspiring for my
candidacy. I want to ask a very personal question now.
Yes.
Now, looking at all of this, you know how it is, the mindset of individuals when they say a woman in politics, a woman who is delving into politics, there's this stigma around it. She's wayward. She cannot be controlled. You know, all of those perceptions when it comes to issues like that. And maybe that's why most women are running away from politics, because they feel it's only at night they have their meetings, when you're supposed to be at home with your family, especially when you're family groomed. How do you handle all of that and still stay afloat and knowing in your heart that what you're doing is right? You want to make an impact. You want individuals to come together in unity to understand that, hey, it's not the same old. There's a difference now. There's going to be changes, and change has come. How do you relate that?
I firstly that have different angles of answer. Firstly, when you are picking a spouse, you have to make sure that you people are on the same page.
Very important.
Everybody, despite who you are, despite the role you want to play in life, you have a particular person you're supposed to pick as your spouse. You people have to be understanding between both. Of course, the person has to know that this is what you want to do, and they have to be an understanding. I have a very supportive spouse, and I have a baby of 1 year 5 months. Yes, my baby was like 6 months when I started this whole aspiration.
Really?
Yes, and my spouse was very supportive, and again, your spouse needs to know you, need to know who you are, need to know your personality, need to know what you would do, because of course, there are always different narratives, especially when you're a female, and there's always different stories and different, you also being, because you're a female, being sexualized and all that. Then for our spouse, for the men, someone once told me that I am not, that I'm too calm to be a politician. Then I was like, why must I be, I don't know, I don't want to use the wrong word.
Be aggressive?
Aggressive,
exactly.
Because I'm a politician. Then I said, yes, I'm calm, but I'm very strategic with my actions.
Very true.
I think being strategic is more important than being too expressive. So you have to be more strategic, and when you take an action, you know that, yes, this speaks volume.
And it stands.
So I made her understand that. And as for our spouse, I think especially women who are in leadership position, the spouse, they just need to know that they need to treat you as a female, not as a competitor. So with female, of course, a woman can be a bit bold, can be a bit, can be purposeful.
No nonsense.
No nonsense. We are very principled, because I tagged it a principle.
Yes.
That's what we Nigerians call nonsense. But when you are around your spouse, you see them start behaving. Of course, there can be something else out there, but when they're around their spouse, you see a different side of them, because the husband or the spouse know how to treat her as a female. So you just need to know how to treat your wife, especially those who are in leadership position, as a woman, not as a competitor, or as I don't know how to put it. So
right. I want us to pivot a little for a second, right? Let's talk about party politics.
Okay.
This is 2026. The APC is the ruling party. All right. You have that, APC being the ruling party, and then you also have the PDP being, if you like, disintegrated internally. don't you think those elements could work against you? This is Abuja, where the APC is very visible, has a strong foothold in terms of politics and presence and all of that. So how do you fight the headwinds politically?
I think the beauty of politics is having different political parties on board, and when that happens, you have to table what's your manifesto, and the people of Abuja, or let me speak for my ward, City Center. They are very enlightened people,
right?
And they are very enlightened people, and I think everybody is out on the feed, and the decision would be left for the people to make. And
incidentally, I'm afraid this is where we're going to have to end this conversation. But we would like to say a big thank you to you, Lovett Ezeko, PDP councillorship candidate, City Center here in the FCT. We wish you all the best as you go into this very life-changing, decision-molding phase of your life.
Thank you very much. Best of luck. Thank you very much.
All right, so we'll take a quick break, everyone. Shortly, we'll be joined by the spokesperson for the House of Representatives, Honorable Akin Rotimi Jr., to help us just shed light quickly on the, well, now controversial Electoral Act bill. Stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, everyone. We are being joined now by Honorable Akin Rotimi Jr., spokesperson, House of Representatives. Thank you so very much for, despite your tight schedule, making our time to join us.
Thank you very much. It's always a delight to engage with Nigerians, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Oh, great. So, Juma and I will just quickly do this with you for the next couple of minutes. So, let's understand, by way of perspectives and context, where we are with the Electoral Act bill. So much of misconceptions, speculations out there, narratives being advanced and what have you. Where are we and where are we heading?
Okay, so what happened is, of course, you know that the House of Representatives passed a version of the bill in 2025, in December. The Senate subsequently earlier this year passed their own version of the bill, and because there were significant differences, we then had to set up a joint Senate House harmonization committee, conference committee, to be able to harmonize the positions into one. While their work, and that harmonization committee had 12 people from the House of Reps and 12 from the Senate, bipartisan, APC, Labour, APGA, and all the likes. So while they were considering, those provisions to harmonize, we then had the announcement of the timetable by INEC, which, of course, based on feedback from Nigerians, that next year, the timetable key dates there was going to fall during Ramadan and Lent. And this required that the House, of course, responded, to give INEC, because INEC acted based on the provisions of the extant provisions of 2022. So that was the reason we had to have an emergency session, right, in order to consider the reports from the conference committee, but also be able to take on new considerations. Because as it is, per the rules of the Senate and the House standing orders, a conference committee cannot consider anything outside of the remit of you know, the provisions that were before them. You can't introduce anything new. So that's why we had to have an emergency session to be able to harmonize, first of all, take in the reports from the harmonization committee, and then also be able to look at new things. So what has happened now is that the House has passed, you know, the electoral bill 2026. The Senate has also passed that bill. I believe at this stage we're going to be harmonizing. They'll be fine-tuning and finalizing for transmission to Mr. President to be able to sign. But overall, you know, what you see is a commitment that we have, you know, to ensuring free, fair, and credible elections. You saw all that happened within, you know, the House yesterday. It's
including the melodrama.
Indeed. Well, you know, again, that's parliamentary practice. What you have is everyone has a right to. I mean, I have my own personal opinion, but I'll tell you about what the House position, because it's our decision as a country to have a democracy in which, you know, the minority would have their say, majority have their way in a very civil, you know, environment. So what you have is that out of the collective wisdom of the National Assembly, we arrived at those provisions, which contains a lot of key, you know, provisions, the key amendments. You know, I know that one major concern that a lot of people have had, you know, is Section 63, which is about transmission of results. You know, and, you know, I think the media has a big role to play in that, to make Nigerians understand that electronic transmission of votes has been made mandatory. The IREV has been recognized and is, you know, encoded, you know, in the bill that is now going to the president for assets. Yes, please.
Great.
Now, looking at all of this, who stands to benefit the most when it comes to these changes that are in front of us?
It's Nigerians, because again, I like to emphasize, as you know, contrary to what a lot of people try to frame this narrative as though it's a partisan thing, an opposition or APC. No, yeah, exactly. It's simply a thing of all Nigerians want free, fair, and credible elections.
Yes,
Nigerians want to believe in the process. There's a lot of apathy. There's a lot of distrust of, you know, the political elite, especially the, you know, for us in the House, and we would continue to work to redress that, to ensure that by our actions, Nigerians again believe and have confidence in the legislature. So overall, it's the Nigerians. And I must just mention, you know, you'd recall that yesterday there was an incident at the National Assembly, which unfortunately, you know, there was tear gas, you know, deployed to disperse protesters. I mean, we feel very strongly about it. The House Committee on Media and Public Affairs is taking that up internally to ensure that this is redressed and we don't, and such is prevented in the future, because we believe that the National Assembly is the people's house. A lot of what we do is based on feedback from the public. You know, civil society is very involved in our legislative process, and protests are part of the legislative process. We welcome protests. We welcome people attending our gates to express their views. In fact, some of us are even pushing that, you know, protesters should be allowed, you know, space within the arcade, you know, beyond the gates, to even be able to approach even further, you know, bearing security challenges, which is what happened yesterday. Because what you had is that some people were trying to breach the gates, and, you know, protests are always very fluid. Many times they are infiltrated by those that don't have noble intentions. You know, so for us, we want, you know, protesters to come anytime, but we also encourage members of the public, when organizing such, you know, protests, to also ensure that it's not infiltrated by those that, you know, want to cause any sort of chaos, you know, and all of that. So it's more on members of the public and civil society to also self-regulate, you know, because what you had yesterday was the security agencies moving to forestall any breakdown of law and order. But it would not have been necessary if, you know, things were done orderly. But we agree very much that Nigerians have a right to dissent. If there's a section of the society that believe you know, their views are not being, you know, they're always welcome. But overall, the electoral amendments, it's such a big step forward. There are over a dozen new provisions, you know, that would certainly improve, our electoral processes.
On a final note, you talked about mistrust a while ago. As we wrap up now in 1 minute, there's this strong belief out there that the APC is afraid that if online real-time, because that's the element that's of concern really, if online real-time transmission is entrenched or is made to happen going forward, especially starting from 2027, the party could largely be at a disadvantage. Isn't that sentiment valid really?
I don't think so, and again, I think it's very reductionist when people try to bring it down to APC, PDP, ADC, whatever. We've acted in the best interest of Nigerians. The House, through its collective wisdom, the majority have acted, right? A lot of people within the APC, are frontline advocates, for free, fair, and credible elections. We believe that, speaking now as a member of the APC and not as spokesperson, I believe that His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has made very tough but necessary decisions, that has turned our trajectory, economic, fortunes, our trajectory on the path of sustainable development. So we have no reasons to fear that Nigerians, well-meaning Nigerians, would respond, by, giving us the votes in 2027. So we don't have any fear about that at all. Yes, there's dissent. It's part of our democracy. And I say it all the time. If we had the opportunity, I'm sure His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would even join protests for free, fair, and credible elections because he's a Democrat, he's a national leader of our party, and he's done everything to be able to ensure that we have free, fair, and credible elections.
Incidentally, I think that will be all at this point in time as we continue to keep an eye out on these developments as they unfold. I would like to say a big thank you to you, Honorable Akin Rotimi Jr., spokesperson for the House of Representatives, for coming to help us beat this into context and with very strong perspectives. And this is where we'll leave it on Global Morning today. We'd like to say a big thank you to you, everyone, for making our time to watch. Remember that the views of all of our guests across all of our programs are their opinions. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And I am Jumai Manson. Thank you again, Mr. Rotimi Akin, for being a part of the program. Have an amazing day ahead. Bye-bye.